Flag at the White House is back at half-staff today. The president issued a proclamation yesterday honoring the late Senator John McCain, but only after receiving criticism for raising the flag just 2 days after his death.
In comments on our Facebook page, you've been debating the protocol for lowering the flag and whether the White House followed it.
10 News reporter Cole Sullivan joins us now to verify the proper way to fly the flag. Cole?
Reverend John, it's a debate of protocol and patriotism. The White House lowering the flag and then putting it back up again 2 days after Senator McCain died. Meanwhile, other flags across the country stayed at half-staff.
The flag is the symbol of our country. It's a symbol of what we fight for and defend.
And the symbol was striking. The flags lowered on Capitol Hill and at the top of the pole on the White House. And we started hearing from you. Rena says our own White House broke the law. Sharon says protocol calls for flying the day of death and day of funeral. Trump did it just because his PR person said to say something nice, Kelly says. So who is right? We asked Tennessee Army National Guard Sergeant Major Bobby Lee and Ken Irvine of the Knoxville American Legion.
There are certain days upon which you lower the flag to half-staff.
It's regulation, not law, proclaimed by President Eisenhower in 1954.
For a sitting president or a former president who passes away, the flag is lowered to half-staff for 30 days.
The death of a senator like McCain has a specific protocol too.
For any sitting member of Congress, any other member of Congress, the flag is lowered to half-staff on the day of their passing until the end of the day on the following day.
Which means 2 days is the mandated amount of time the flag must fly lowered. That's verified. But tradition is another matter.
Senator McCain has spent his entire life serving the country.
The American Legion is one of the organizations that asked President Trump to fly the flag at half-staff for longer.
Well, what has developed over time is for sitting senators, we have flown the flag longer. The flag code allows that if the president will issue a proclamation. Certainly if anyone's earned it, Senator John McCain did.
President Trump did issue that proclamation yesterday. Flags will be lowered until Senator McCain is buried. That'll happen on Sunday at the U.S. Naval Academy. Governor Bill Haslam and Knox County Mayor Tim Burchett also ordered flags at half-staff in the county and in the state. Robin?
Cole, thanks for verifying. Now, if there's something you want us to verify as well, just let us know. Email verify@wbir.com and reach out to us on social media.